Welcome to the Sunday School Reading Channel. If this reading is a blessing to you, please like, share, and subscribe. Our reading for July 7th, 2024 is entitled Ceaseless Love. The devotional reading comes from Psalms 30. The background scriptures come from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 16 through 24, Psalms 30, and Jeremiah chapter 52, verses 1 through 30. The print passage comes from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 16 through 24. Key verses comes from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 through 22. The devotional reading, Psalms 30, reads as follows. I will exalt you, Lord, for you lifted me out of the depths and did not let my enemies gloat over me. Verse 2. Lord, my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me. Verse 3. You, Lord, brought me up from the realm of the dead. You spared me from going down to the pit. Verse 4. Sing the praises of the Lord, you his faithful people. Praise his holy name. Verse 5. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Verse 6. When I felt secure, I said, I will never be shaken. Verse 7. Lord, when you favored me, you made my royal mountain stand firm. But when you hid your face, I was dismayed. Verse 8. To you, Lord, I called. To the Lord I cried for mercy. Verse 9. What is gained if I am silenced? If I go down to the pit? Will the dust praise you? Will it proclaim your faithfulness? Verse 10. Hear, Lord, and be merciful to me. Lord, be my help. Verse 11. You turn my wailing into dancing. You remove my sackcloth and clothe me with joy. Verse 12. That my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord my God, I will praise you forever. The background scriptures, print passage, and key verses will be read in their entirety. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 16 reads as follows. He has broken my teeth with gravel. He has trampled me in the dust. Verse 17. I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. Verse 18. So I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped from the Lord. Verse 19. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. Verse 20. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Verse 21. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Verse 22. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, but his compassion never fails. Verse 23. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Verse 24. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 1 reads as follows. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. His mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of Jeremiah. She was from Libnah. Verse 2. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, just as Jehoiakim had done. Verse 3. It was because of the Lord's anger that all this happened to Jerusalem and Judah, and in the end he thrust him from his presence. Now Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Verse 4. So in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, on the 10th day of the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, marched against Jerusalem with his whole army. They encamped outside the city and built siege works all around it. Verse 5. The city was kept under siege until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. Verse 6. By the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine in the city had become so severe that there was no food for the people to eat. Verse 7. Then the city wall was broken through, and the whole army fled. They left the city at night through the gate between the two walls near the king's garden, though the Babylonians were surrounding the city. They fled toward the Arabah. Verse 8. But the Babylonian army pursued King Zedekiah and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. All his soldiers were separated from him and scattered. Verse 9. And he was captured. He was taken to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he pronounced sentence on him. Verse 10. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. He also killed all the officials of Judah. Verse 11. Then he put out Zedekiah's eyes, bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babylon, where he put him in prison to the day of his death. Verse 12. On the 10th day of the 5th month, in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar's king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard, who served the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. Verse 13. He set fire to the temple of the Lord, the royal palace, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every important building he burned down. Verse 14. The whole Babylonian army, under the command of the imperial guard, broke down all the walls around Jerusalem. Verse 15. Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, carried into exile some of the poorest people and those who remained in the city, along with the rest of the craftsmen and those who had deserted to the king of Babylon. Verse 16. But Nebuzaradan left behind the rest of the poorest people of the land to work in their vineyards and fields. Verse 17. The Babylonians broke up the bronze pillars, the movable stands, and the bronze sea that were at the temple of the Lord, and they carried all the bronze to Babylon. Verse 18. They also took away the pots, shovels, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, dishes, and all the bronze articles used in the temple service. Verse 19. The commander of the imperial guard took away the basins, censers, sprinkling bowls, pots, lampstands, dishes, and bowls used for drink offerings, all that were made of pure gold or silver. Verse 20. The bronze from the 2 pillars, the sea, and the 12 bronze bulls under it, and the movable stands, which King Solomon had made for the temple of the Lord, was more than could be weighed. Verse 21. Each pillar was 18 cubits high and 12 cubits in circumference. Each was 4 fingers thick and hollow. Verse 22. The bronze capital on top of one pillar was 5 cubits high and was decorated with network and pomegranates of bronze all around. The other pillar With this pomegranate was similar. Verse 23. There were 96 pomegranates on the side. The total number of pomegranates above the surrounding network was 100. Verse 24. The commander of the guard took as prisoners Sariah, the chief priest, Zephaniah, the priest next in rank, and the 3 doorkeepers. Verse 25. Of those still in the city, he took the officer in charge of the fighting men and 7 royal advisors. He also took the secretary, who was the chief officer in charge of conscripting the people of the land, 60 of whom were found in the city. Nebuzaradan, the commander, took them all and brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. Verse 27. There, at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, the king had them executed. So Judah went into captivity away from her land. Verse 28. This is the number of the people Nebuchadnezzar carried into exile. In the 7th year, 3,023 Jews. Verse 29. In Nebuchadnezzar's 18th year, 832 people from Jerusalem. Verse 30. In his 23rd year, 745 Jews taken into exile by Nebuzaradan, the commander of the imperial guard. There were 4,600 people in all. This concludes our reading. Please join with me as we recite Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Thank you for listening. If this reading has been a blessing to you, please like, share, and subscribe.